complementary angles. So complementary is when the angles added up to 90. Complement is always right, so it's 90. Supplement adds up to 180. Now, we can use those two things that we know about angles to apply them to something called vertical and adjacent angles. Thank you. So, angles are formed when two lines intersect. What's the word intersect mean? Cross, so they cross. Okay? So angles are formed when two lines cross. So it says, in the picture below, lines X and Y are straight lines that intersect. And it says use a protractor to measure. I don't have protractors for you all yet, so I went ahead and measured them for you and put them in there. So, the measure of angle A. So I'm going to complete this little table. What is the measure of angle A? 70. And if this is angle A, because it's labeled angle A, so I'm going to put 70. What is the measure of angle B?
110.
110, because it says angle B is 110. So you finish that little table there. All right, so what's angle C? 70, and angle D?
110.
110. Okay, so then it says, what do you notice about the angle measures? So what, Terry, what do you think you notice about some of the angle measures?
They're the same on across each other.
Yes. Good. So angle A and angle C are the same. And so are angle D and angle B are the same, or they're equal. All right, and then it says, what do you notice about the sum? What's sum mean? Add. What do you notice about the sum of all four of the angles?
Oh, they got 180.
That's 360.
Oh. Oh.
And then angle. It's like a angle. So they add up to 360 degrees. All four of the angles add up to 360. Now, two more things that we're going to add up here. Two more words. Okay, are vertical angles and adjacent angles. So two types of special angles are formed when two lines intersect. So it says use the picture above and the table to help you define and describe these types of angle pairs. So vertical angles are angles that are across from each other, which are opposite of each other. So pairs of opposite angles. Okay, so opposite angles, that means that they are across from each other. I'm going to put across in parentheses here. Are formed by intersecting lines. So that means lines that cross. So vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. Which, like in the picture, we said that angle A and angle C and angle B and angle D are across from each other in that picture. So I'm going to move this back up so we can see. So look right here. Angle A and angle C are across from each other. So those are vertical angles because they're across from each other. And angle B and angle D are across from each other, and they are vertical angles. Now, we said right here in this first part, Terry told us that they were the same. So we can conclude that vertical angles are congruent. And somebody that's not from lab Can you tell me what the word congruent means, somebody that's not from Latin? What's the word congruent, Timmy? Seamus.
I don't know.
All right, Brian. Equal.
I knew that. I was raising my hand.
Say it.
Yeah,
I was raising my hand, but no.
I did not see it on that. All right, so
What is it called?
they're congruent. So I'm going to add a new one up here. Vertical angles. So those are angles that are across from each other. Right? They are equal. So vertical angles that are across from each other are equal.
Okay.
Now, adjacent angles, right? Adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. So we're going to add this in here. So they're next to each other. So vertical angles are directly next to each other. And there are two angles that share a common side and a common vertex. And vertex just means that point that they cross at. So looking at the picture out here at the top, can anybody tell me two angles that are next to each other?
Oh.
A and B.
70, 10.
A and B are next to each other.
C and D.
A and B, C and D, A and D, B and C. So all the ones that are directly next to each other. And we are going to find that because they are next to each other, look at me, because they're next to each other, they're on a straight line, and a straight line is 180 supplementary. So adjacent angles are supplementary, which means they add to 180. So that's very important. So I'm going to add that up there too. Yeah. Huh? I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah, she gets the answer.
No, I know them without this. But
You start that day.
I gave her your name right.
Alright. What are the 100 digits? You haven't been in high school for like, what, 20 years now?
okay, it says supplementary add to 180. Okay, so we're going to go down here to the bottom, and the first thing that we're going to identify is what type of angles are they, and then I'm going to use this to help me figure out the missing number, okay? So it says, use what you know about intersecting lines to label the missing angles in the picture below. All right, so let's look at number 1 here. They give me X and 148. So here's my question. Are they across from each other or are they next to each other? They're across from each other. So they're directly across from each other.
They're vertical.
So if they're across, then they're vertical. And we know that vertical angles are
Supplement.
equal. Vertical angles are equal. So if this one is 148, guess what this one is?
148.
148. So once again, how I know that is I looked at the angles. They are across from each other.
Okay.
So I know that the angles that are across from each other are vertical, which means they are equal. Right? All right, let's look at number 2 here. Number 2, are these angles across from each other or next to each other?
Next to each other.
They're next to each other. So if they're next to each other, then they add to 180. So these are adjacent. And I know that they add to 180. So I know that 35 plus X is going to be 180 because if I add them together, they equal 180. So I'm going to subtract 35.
145.
And I get 145. bottom of your paper. The bottom of your paper, I want you to put the answers for these. Alright, so just do those two at the very bottom and then we'll flip it over. So first ask yourself, are they angles that are across from each other? Or are they next to each other? And that'll help you determine if they're vertical or adjacent. You're answering 3 and 4 down at the bottom. I don't know.
How they going?
Well, you gotta ask yourself, are they directly across from each other? Or are they next to each other?
Oh, they're vertical.
All right, so on number 3, are they vertical or adjacent?
Vertical.
They're vertical, and they're vertical because they are directly across from each other. And if they're directly across from each other, then they are equal. So this is also 70. All right, number 4, are they across from each other or are they next to each other? They're next to each other here. So this is adjacent. And I know that when I add them together, they're going to equal 180. And then I find that that missing angle is 90. So are there any questions about how to know if one's vertical or if one's adjacent?
No.
Okay, so we're going to flip it over. And they're going to use any of these. Okay, they might use adjacent, they might use complementary, they might use supplementary, they might use vertical. We don't know until we look at the problem. Okay, so it says, use your understanding of angle relationships to set up and solve an equation to find the missing angle measure. So you have to write an equation. Okay, you can't just give me an answer. So looking at it, it tells me, look up here. It tells me that this whole entire angle, the whole thing, is 117. They tell me that this piece right here, this little piece is 94, and they want to know what X is. So does anybody have any ideas that you might know? All right, Raymond.
You should track the 117.
Okay, but I have to write an equation.
117 minus 94. Anything's fine.
No, but that's not an equation, Teddy.
Call that.
Listen. Correct. So,
You're off.
listen, I know, shh, look up here. I know that this whole thing is 117. So I know that this part, stop. This part is 94. This part I don't know, but I do know that the whole thing adds together to be 117. So the angle that I don't know plus the angle that I do know, I know that when I add them together, the whole thing should be 117.
Okay, put 117 minus 94.
You can have it as long as listen, the definition of an equation is that you have to have numbers, operations, an X, and an equal sign. So if you just do 117 minus 94 equals 23, that's not an equation. That's a number sentence. All right, so I'm going to subtract 94 here. And X does equal 23. So it asks me down here, what are the measures of the two angles? Well, one of the angles is 94 and the other one is 23. All right, so let's look at number 4 here. Number 4, it tells me that the whole thing is 141. So that I know that this angle plus this angle should equal 141, right? So I know that 2x plus this x has to equal 141. Has to. So this goes back to our solving equation skills that we did in like unit 4. So 2x plus x. Well, how many x's is that second one? 1. So that's 2x plus 1x, which is
4.
no 3x. 2 plus 1 is 3 equals 141. And then what would I do to x by itself on
Divide
this
it. 47.
one? Divide by 3,
47.
and I get 47.
I'm smart.
All right, now, they want to know what the angle measures are. So the answer is not 47 for angle measures. They want you to tell them what this one is and what this one is. So what does this 2x mean?
Times.
2 times x. So what did we find x was?
47.
47. So 2 times 47,
94.
that's 94. So that angle is 94. This angle is just x, and we said x was 47. Take your calculator real quick. What is 94 plus 47? 141. He didn't even try, he just guessed the number 1. So when you take 94 plus 47, you get that is 141, which is what the angle was supposed to be. And that's how you can check yourself. All right, let's look at number 5. What type of angles is number 5?
Vertical.
They're vertical. And I know that vertical angles are across from each other and they are equal. Okay? So I know that these two angles, 36 and 20, they're vertical, they're across from each other, so they are equal. They're equal. Right on. So I can solve this. I can divide by 3. And I get a decimal. So 20 divided by 3 is 6.66666666. But we talked about this 100 times. 0.6 repeating is what fraction?
1/6.
No, 2/3.
Never mind.
As we talked about 100 times this year. 0.3 repeating is 1/3. 0.6 repeating is 2/3. And those are some decimals along with 1/2 is 0.5, 1/4 is 0.25, 3/4 is 0.75. You should have numerals.
Huh?
All right, and then it says, what is the angle measure? So to find the angle measure, I'm going to do 3 times 6 and 2/3. So on your calculator, 3 times 6, ABC, 2, ABC, 3, enter.
20.
And guys, shouldn't you know that? Because
Yes.
vertical angles are what? Equal. So if this one's 20, guess what this one is? 20. All right, we'll keep moving here. Okay, so angle relationships allow us to determine any unknown angle measure. So all angles around a point or vertex That just means a shared point will always have a sum of 360. So that's like what we were talking about before on that first page. That point where both of those lines crossed, when we added up all four of those angles, they equal 360. So anytime that I'm looking at a point where two lines cross, if I add up all the angles around, it will always equal 360. All right, so we're gonna look at these down here, and then we're gonna do a couple extra practice problems. Shh. Okay, so on this first one here, it says set up and solve an equation to find the missing angle measures in each of the following. Now, here's what I would do. These two are across from each other, so they are equal. These two are across from each other, so they are equal. Now, here's my question. If I want to find angle measure M, aren't these two things equal?
No.
Okay, yeah, because they're across from each other, so they're equal. So, what is the angle measure of this one? 100. Because 60 plus 40 is 100. Right? So the measure of that angle is 100. So what is the measure of angle M? 100. Because they are across from each other, they are vertical. So down here I can put 100. If you're going to write an equation there, you can say that 60 plus 40 equals X. Because they are equal to each other, I know that if I added those two together, it's equal to that one. Now, they also want me to find K. Here's my question. It's a very important question. How are M and K related?
They're across from each other.
They're next to each other.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay? They are directly next to each other. Look over here. Woo-woo. Right here. They're adjacent. They're next to each other. So they equal 180. So I know that K, my X, plus that 100 has to be 180 because they are supplementary. They are next to each other, so they have to add up to 180. So I subtract 100, and the measure of K is 80. What's the measure of P? 80, because it's vertical from K, which means they're equal. All right, let's do another one together. All right, let's look at 7 here. They're asking me to find G and J. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is 32. What the heck is this?
Right angle.
A right angle, which is 90. So this is 90 because of that symbol. That symbol is 90, that right angle. So I know, listen, I know that this angle and this angle are what? Equal because they are vertical. They're across from each other. Okay? So I know that this angle, 32 plus 90, is 122, right? So if that one is 122, what is the other one that's across from it? 122. So angle J is 122 because I know that 32 plus 90 is going to equal J because they are vertical. They are across from each other. They are equal. All right, and then they also want me to find G. So I know that this is 122 here. I just found that. What relationship do J and G have?
They're vertical. No,
They're adjacent. They're next to each other. So if I add them together, they should equal 180. Okay, so I know that GX plus that 122 has to equal 180.
You drop.
Yeah, I told you like 100 times. Sit up. What do you have now? You're talking. You jerking your sleep and nothing happened. So I subtract the 122, and what's G? All right, Chevy.
78.
70.
78.
70. Are you sure?
Oh, wait, no.
50.
I was gonna say, I think that's 50. Well,
Yeah.
Alright, shh. Alright, I'm gonna let you all try. I'm gonna let you all try number 8 to find Z. So don't talk.
What is that? Is that
58.
58?
Yeah, so try number 8 to find Z. So don't talk, just try it on your own. Well, I'm not coming back there because you already did it.
No, I need.
So think about how you would find it. Think about, do I have any vertical in this? And everything else is vertical. What? Oh.
How do you do that? The answer is like A, B.
It's not funny. All right, let's see. Johanna, what do you think it is? Right?
I need help.
Oh, come on. All right, let's see what Terry said.
58. Wait.
Yeah, what did you answer? Oh.
Well, I'm sorry.
Does anybody think they have an answer?
I haven't solved.
Jordan? All right.
I got it.
Jonathan?
58.
No. All right, let's see what Carmel says.
Down, side to side. In and out.
Travis coming?
Me?
Is it, 151?
All right, let's look. All right, look up here. Guys, first thing that I would have done is look to see what vertical angles I have, because those are the easiest, because vertical are the same. So if this is 112, this is 112. If this is 29, this is 29, right?
That is easy.
Okay, so I know that all my vertical angles here were filled in because they're equal. Now, I've got to find this one. And I know that, look, this is a straight line right here. See that straight line? Which means if they're on a straight line, then they are.
Right angle. What
am I pointing to?
I don't
No, where's supplement, guys? I just said.
You're pointing on something. Yeah. You're
marking.
Okay, listen. Okay, just hush. You all are ridiculous. I just said in words, they are on a straight line. If they are on a straight line, then they are supplementary. So I know that X plus 29 plus 112 has to be 180. Because they are on a straight line, supplementary. So I'm going to solve that. So that'll be X plus 29 plus 112. What is that?
It's 39. Anyone else remember?
It's 130. No, I'm asking what's 29 plus 112.
141.
141 equals 180. I'm talking, therefore you should not be unless you're giving me the answer that I just asked for. Subtract the 141. And I find that that missing angle is 39. All right, we're gonna do a few more.
No.
I would just put them at the bottom of your paper. That's why we're doing more. Okay, so at the bottom of your paper, and I don't want you all just screaming out, well, I don't know how to do it. You need to look up here and see what you can use. Okay, so we're gonna find X. All right. All right, so I want you to find X. Use your paper, write some of them down. If you want a separate sheet of paper to add some, you can, but we should not be socializing.
Oh, wait, hold on, so we have to try to find what maybe now? Oh, that's.
Remember I said, we're not making comments about, I don't know how to do this, you're going to attempt it. And no, we're not helping right now. I did a problem just like both of these. Look at number 3, Andy. Look at number 3. Just did a problem like this. Say it again and you're gonna be off. You're just here to collapse in attention and I'm over it. All right, so on number 1, I know that the whole thing is 89, so 50 plus X must be 89. So what's the missing angle? 39. Woo. All right, looking at number 2, what type of angles are those? They're vertical, and I know that vertical angles are across from each other, so they must be equal. So this one is 100, so X equals 100.
That was so easy.
Okay, try this one.
No. Sorry.
All right, what kind of angles are these?
Vertical.
Adjacent, because they're right next to each other. So I know that when I add them together, they should equal 180. So I subtract the 59.
121.
All right, try this one.
How are they not vertical?
Because they're not across from each other.
Wow, what is that?
All right, so I want you to find next in this one. So remember when we were doing one that this one was just like number 8. Fill in all the missing numbers first. So you should be able to fill in a lot of stuff first because of them being Because of them being
Equal.
vertical, equal. So fill in all the things that you know are equal first. Shh. Turn it down.
I think it's good.
All right, so look at the vertical. This one's 100, so this one must be 100. This one's 50, so this one must be 50. These I don't know. But if you look at them, all three of these are on the same line. And I know that they are all on a straight line, that they must be supplementary, which means when I add them together, they must equal 180. So I know that x plus 50 plus 100 has to be 180. So that's x plus 150 equals 180. Subtract 150, and I know that my other angle must be 30.
I got that.
Good. So on e-learning tomorrow, if that's a possibility, I don't know yet. What time are you going to be on the Google Meet? 11. 11. We'll also do a little bit of refresh with a couple of these, and then we'll do an assignment on these. I personally would take home this note paper, hint, hint. Do not lose it, hint, hint. Everybody but Gomez and Andy can go to lunch. Gomez and Andy stay.